Okay, I know this has been a long day for everybody, so I will try not to take up too much of everyone's time. The talk today will be on how to improve your conversion funnel without changing your product. I do have a dirty secret. I'm not a product marketing person. I'm a product manager. Even though, yeah, a couple of product managers here. Even though I love working with product marketing people, and that's why I guess I'm here today. Also, in terms of, I also wanted to just touch on why every product manager should care about marketing as well, because I know they always don't. See if I can figure out how to change this one. All right, I'll just use this one. Okay, so again, my name is Johannes Fresge. Those are the places I've worked at. I started off my product marketing career at Zynga, which was a big social gaming company. Then worked at a startup in New York called Fever, which we'll touch on. After that, I was at Audible, which is an Amazon company. And then lastly, which if you guys looked at my profile here, it says Open Sky, and we were acquired by Alibaba, which is like the Amazon of China. So that's kind of like just my short background. Okay. So why should PMs care about marketing, product managers care about marketing? And when I left Zynga, I was making games. We would get 5 to 7 million people playing any of our games. We had marketers there, but all of that was done in the background. I didn't really have to do anything to get users. So when I joined Fever as a VP of product, one of the things I was like, why do we need marketing? And some of the things that product managers who are naive may think is that, products should sell themselves. They don't need marketing to do that. That's very old school. People, you may talk about product market fit. If you need marketing, you don't have product market fit. Word of mouth, my product is really cool. You didn't see Facebook or Instagram needing marketing back in the day, so why should my product need that as well? And then last is just like virality. Like, why do I need that? Like, our users will share our product. We don't need traditional marketing. So this was like a very naive picture, and this was like much earlier in my career before I got to really understand the benefit of marketing. Okay, so meet Fever. This is the company I mentioned before. Fever was a mobile-first event discovery app. We launched in 2012, and I joined in like the latter end of 2012. We had a seed round of around $2 million, small team in New York as well as Europe. Engineering team was in Madrid, Spain, so that's where I was for a while. And when I joined, you can see from our conversion funnel, even though these aren't the actual numbers, so if anybody from here is from Fever, please don't sue me. You see that there's like the conversion rate is around 2%, but every once in a while it spikes to around 4%. So when I was there, one thing I was like interested in understanding was, why was our conversion rate increasing every once in a while, right? And we had a couple of hypotheses, right? We said, was this a weekend effect because we're an event discovery app? So we said, are more people just coming on the weekend? No, because you could see here that it's not just, they don't happen every weekend, they're happening on Tuesdays and other days. Is it because we have a really popular venue? No. They were all different types of venues, and they were happening all over the city, but mostly in a specific demographic or place we'll get to later on. Is it a popular event? No, it was like all types of events, so there wasn't anything unique about the event or venue. And lastly, was it due to one of our PR campaigns? So like these are all different hypotheses that I tested and we looked at, and we couldn't figure out why. So this was me back then. Okay, so when we looked at our analytics platform, we were using Mixpanel. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. We saw that in the people's profile, we saw that the ages of the users who were in this sort of increased conversion peaks that we saw were aged, like their ages were between 17 and 22. It was pretty much all the venues were in the West Village, and their email domain ended in edu. So I don't know if anybody has any ideas of who they were. No? Exactly. Oops, I went back one slide. Somebody was right though. That's right, they were NYU students. So basically we had an event discovery app, and our biggest consumers were NYU students, but our marketing campaign didn't reflect that, right? So we were spending, close to, $300,000 a month acquiring users, and the users we were acquiring were not the best users for us, because mostly NYU students and other college students in Columbia and other places were the main people downloading and going to our events. So you see here, the keywords we were buying were New York events, things to do in New York. Our Facebook ads were just like, location-based Manhattan and in a pretty wide age range. So we basically were buying a lot of traffic because it was cheap and because it converted well without thinking about how well it converted, because the click-through rate was high, but not thinking through how well it converted through the rest of our funnel. Okay, so how do we pivot? We started to see that the way that students were finding our posts were they would see, they basically had all their own Facebook pages, and we saw that they would have like NYU students page, and then they would post a popular event that we had, and then all of them would go to that event. So we started to buy sponsored ads initially, and over time we started to make our own pages that were just like their pages, and we used those to get them to follow. And then instead of paying for a sponsored post, we were able to keep that person to see all of our events whenever they hit a social, whenever they went to Facebook, for example. The second thing was we got influencers from college campuses. So again, this was 2014, so influencing was not nearly as big as it was today, but we got the coolest people on NYU or Columbia and got them to invite, to basically promote their friends about our event. And then the last thing we did was just a typical referral program. But the most interesting thing I thought about talking about for this conversation was, how do we figure out who our users were? Because I think that that's sort of less known in terms of product marketing and marketing overall. Okay, so you see here like traffic, right? We all have our different sites for traffic, Facebook, Google, any domain. That's the one thing that we all do because that's where we get our users from, right? So we already knew we already had our traffic sources. Then we had analytics, right? Mixpanel, Localytics, Amplitude, these are just platforms that people, Google Analytics is another one where you can see events that your users are doing. Earlier I talked about how we were able to identify that these were NYU students by looking at the people profile and sort of understanding what emails they use and everything else. We were able to identify that these were NYU students. What we didn't do, at least early on, we implemented this later on, we didn't have an attribution we didn't have an attribution provider. So because we are a mobile only experience, from the time a person clicks on some piece of media, some piece of creative, to them installing your app, it's really hard to follow that person, especially back then. So before we had an attribution platform, we just saw that we were looking at click-through rates. We saw that a click may cost 85 cents, it may cost $1.50, but we really couldn't understand how well that person did from clicking on an ad, to them going to the App Store page, to them downloading the app, to them actually creating a profile, to them finding an event, and then actually paying for that event, and then doing that over and over again, right? That whole piece was invisible to us. And then this last piece, which I think is just starting to get popular over maybe the last 4 or 5 years, are aggregator platforms. So InParticle and Segment are two of the more popular ones. And what they allow you to do is basically you have your analytics platform, you have your attribution platform, and any number of tools that you want to use. But if there's any product marketers or marketing people in the room, whenever you want to implement a new one, the product team is always like not so keen because implementing any one of these things takes a lot of development resources and takes a lot of time to execute. So with the addition of aggregators, what they allow you to do is you integrate with the aggregator, and then if you want to switch out amplitude for mixed panel or mixed panel for local lytics, it becomes much easier. So that's something that I just started to see happen more often. And now, instead of integrating directly with any sort of marketing tool, I basically see if that tool is integrated with an aggregator like Segment or mParticle, and then I basically integrate there, and then I can switch anyone out fairly easily and don't have to worry about all the additional time in case we ever want to switch that tool. So I think that that's a really good thing that if you guys aren't familiar with it, you should certainly check out, and then mention it to your product manager or development team. You guys can look really cool on their side. Okay, so we're now I just want to talk about the different approaches that I've been through in my career as a product manager, and we can talk about if you can get to that top part, which when I worked at Amazon, this is where we were at, so it's a very big company. If you can get to that place, then you're probably fairly optimized in terms of your campaigns. So spray and pray, right? I don't know if you guys have heard that, but that's where Fever started off, where we were sort of optimizing based off of click-through rate. We're optimizing based off of impressions, and we would buy keywords, but we really had no idea outside of just driving traffic to an app store page how that traffic was performing. Okay, so then the second phase is channel optimization. So to get to channel optimization, you have to have an idea from your creative to actually using your product. For me, there's an app store page in between. So you have to have an idea for how well your creative is actually converting, not from just click-through, but from your actual conversion funnel. So which percentage of your creative from Facebook are leading, from Facebook, whatever campaign in Facebook, are actually leading to a person downloading the app, signing in, and then optimally converting in whatever that subscription is or whatever the sort of objective is for that. Over time, you're able to optimize your keywords to say, okay, New York events is not a good keyword for us, but we should be focusing on hungry college students, right? So, and then you would cut off the keyword campaign related to some generic events, and then you would focus more of your budget on campaigns that you think are converting or that you see are converting well. This is sort of like where I see a lot of companies at now. The next phase is channel, content, and product optimization. So this is like a really cool place to be if you can build the infrastructure to get here. And this is where you're not only sort of optimizing your channel, but you're optimizing your product and you're optimizing your creative. And this is actually it can be difficult to get all the way to doing this, but to at least optimize your product is not too difficult to do. So what this includes in terms of having an attribution platform, having your analytics integrated within your app, and then you can basically say, and this is one thing I did at Amazon, where I worked at the Audible, which is an audiobook company, and let's say that you have creative for Harry Potter, right? So the person clicked on something for Harry Potter, they didn't download the app. When they onboard, instead of seeing some sort of generic sign-in screen, we can show them creative related to Harry Potter. So what does that mean? That means that it's a end-to-end experience from that person actually clicking on creative to actually seeing that in the product, right? So I found that to be incredibly powerful in terms of converting that person from not just sort of clicking on an ad, but to actually signing up for the service and then getting them much closer to sign up for a subscription, which was the product that Audible was. Okay, so outside of optimizing within the product, which is already very cool, what you can also do is optimize for the creative. So the way that it works is that as you basically are getting people to click on ads and feeding your attribution platform, and your attribution platform is feeding your analytic platform and your product, it's actually going both ways, right? Because you have people doing things in your app, and then you're reporting that back to your attribution partner. So you're seeing that, okay, this creative got, people to sign in to the app. This creative got people to actually sign up for a subscription. And then what you're basically doing is getting an understanding of how your creative relates to your actual users. Over time, what you can do is feed those events back to another partner, and then basically say that, okay, this person looks similar to Johannes, or this person is Johannes, he hasn't used the app in a while. I want to show him something based off the last thing he used in the app, which is re-engagement campaigns. But once you get a bit more sophisticated, you can say, this person looks like Johannes, and I'm going to show him creative that worked for Johannes, or I think may have worked for Johannes. And that's when you basically have your creative optimized for lookalike audiences or for that potential user. So that's like, you have to have a lot of scale to do that. But if you can, then over time you see really big increases in conversion rates from just using traditional banner campaigns. Okay, so this is the example I talked about before. What's happening here is what the industry call a deferred link. So it's a deep link, and within that creative, there's actually an attribute associated with whatever thing the person's looking at. So in the example I gave, when a person clicks on a Harry Potter ad, we basically fingerprint that user, and now there's something related to that Harry Potter ad in that user's device, or somehow it's related to that person's profile within the attribution platform. So then this person is not our install yet, but they go to the App Store, and once they go to the App Store and they download our app, once they launch the app for the first time, we then check to see if they have this attribute, and we say that, oh, this is Johannes, he liked a Harry Potter ad. Let's show him our Harry Potter onboarding experience. And then once you do that, then it's this person can then make the sort of connection that this was the creative, or this is the ad I looked at, and it's in the product, and they gave me the first hour of it free. So it's an end-to-end experience, and if you compare that to like the generic sign-in screen that we see most often, at least in the use cases that I've seen, that end-to-end experience converted much higher. I can't get any specifics because I'm under NDA for every company I worked at, but I've seen that this personalized flow worked very well. Okay, so this next example is closer related to analytics, right? So I'm not sure if it's only me, but I think at least in my time working in product, I did a lot of "We Miss You" campaigns, right? And a lot of times we miss you campaigns because we don't have a really good idea of who our users are. But if you have integrated like an analytics platform, then you could basically can do it better than a generic "We Miss You" campaign, and then you could have a push campaign, email campaign, web notifications related not to just like some generic creative, but you can have it related to this user. So in this example here, this which I did not work at this company, but the person it's an airline app, and if the person was looking at a flight to Japan, and after the person hadn't used the app or opened the app within 4 or 5 days, and just said instead of sending a generic "We Miss You" campaign, they send a personalized notification. And I've done sort of personalized re-engagement many different times, and it always converts better than sort of a generic one-size-fits-all after 12 or 14 days. So this is another example of working with product and marketing where you can come up with a more personalized experience that converts much better. The last piece is the dynamic content optimization, which I touched on before. This requires you basically have people going into your app and then feeding information back, and then dynamically creating creative based off of whoever sees your screen. You can see here that there's different creative depending on who the person is. So if the person is somebody they think will like a big face, then you have that. And if it's something who's more focused on price, then you have that. And the interesting thing is that the creative is dynamically created, or is dynamically presented to the user in real time. So they see that this person is similar to Johannes. Here's the creative we're going to show him, all in real time. And for these type of campaigns, I found that initially they convert about as well as traditional ads, but over time, and as you feed more and more information into that DCO engine, then it actually improves improves the conversion rate for your creative over time. And then you compare that to a generic creative, and it's very easy to see how powerful this could be. So these are all just different examples of how when product works with marketing, you can see, a much more personalized and improved experience. So the question I proposed to myself like 8 years ago of why should a product manager care about marketing? So I now have an answer. The reason why product managers should care about marketing is because when they work together, they create better customer experiences and also much higher conversion rates. So any questions, I'll answer them now. Oh, okay.
I messed up. No, that's fine. I can just. One of the talks earlier, I think it was yesterday, talked about the data-driven mistake of looking at the wrong metrics, optimizing for the wrong things. And it occurs to me with the dynamic content optimization, it must occasionally fall prey to that, because there's that phenomenon of, oh, I'm shopping online for a toilet seat, and I buy a toilet seat, and then all I see are toilet seat ads, and I'm like, I have not become a toilet seat maven. I got the one I wanted. I'm done now. So can you talk about sort of where some of these things go wrong and how you compensate for that?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So I think what happens is that it really depends on who's the person putting those ads in your sort of like profile, right? So for me, it's probably like an e-commerce platform, and what happened is you were shopping for toilet seats, and you were shopping for toilet seats on Amazon, which is a place I worked at. We can use a different example, but I like toilet seats though. We're gonna stick with that one.
I'm sure only buying one.
So then you buy the toilet seat, and you buy it on Walmart, right? So then Amazon doesn't know that you bought a toilet seat. So Amazon is going to show you that toilet seat they're going to show you that toilet seat until your conversion rate for a toilet seat goes down so much where the next best thing they have to you appears as the next as a thing they should show you. Because what Amazon is doing is they basically have an algorithm. So whenever they have a display ad, they have an infinite number of things they can show you, and they basically just have an array of like, what's the likelihood for you to convert on this toilet seat ad, and they basically are going to show it to you 4, 5, 6 times, and then on the 6th time they're saying that, okay, the likelihood for her to convert on this toilet seat ad is lower than the likelihood for her to convert on this iPhone case, right? So then they're going to start to show you the iPhone case. So there's a little bit of confirmation bias there, because they initially saw that you liked the toilet seat ad because you were searching for it, and they didn't know if you bought it or not. So the same thing is true for any of these campaigns. The good thing is that there's an attribution platform that's there. So as we show you this in the book, in my example of books, as we show you this Harry Potter book, multiple times, we're going to notice that you're not clicking on it. And then after that time, we might end up showing you a different book, or we might just decide to show you something generic because we don't have a good idea of who you are. But the things that we're constantly looking at is how likely are you to click on that ad, and if you don't, then that's a signal for us. And then if you do click on it, we're looking at it, how likely are you to complete the action that we're thinking you're going to complete? So there's always a goal for us to sort of be moving you towards, and those are the things we look at in terms of deciding what to show you.
Yeah, so we discussed this a lot in our marketing class and our product management class, the importance of marketing, and it's usually a split. While a lot of people say that a good product speaks for itself, is what you said was your naive definition 8 years ago.
Yep.
And people firmly believe, but the thing is that when they say, oh, have you seen Tesla marketing or Tesla advertising? It speaks for itself. For a mindset like that and for firm believers in something like that, how do you suggest one pitches oneself as a PMM or bring out the importance of marketing? Because I realized my crew barely focused on the marketing aspect. They were like, oh, why are framing this and that? But hey, marketing can, wait. So how do you bring that shift in thinking?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the important, like I said, when I was at Fever, I was just very naive because, the fact is everyone is not Tesla. Everyone is not Facebook. Everyone is not Instagram, right? So there's only a handful of these companies that we can name. Everyone else, I worked at an event discovery app. I thought it was really cool, but there are lots of products like it. So if you're not in one of these, sort of like echelons of products which have a built-in brand, right? Then marketing can help supercharge, the adoption of your product. So, for example, if you, like one thing that we did at Audible, we were getting X number of users per month, but we decided to test television ads. And the reason why that was an interesting test for us, because we were getting X number of users per month, but we found that with a television ad, we're able to not only drive organic traffic or not only drive the traffic that we're getting from paid media spend on the websites, but we were able to drive exponentially more traffic, not exponentially, but significantly more traffic with TV. And that TV was converting at a rate that was better than the price we were getting once we exhausted our web channel. So one thing I think about it depends on the size of your company, but marketing is basically a tool like every other tool. And if you're trying to get users, or if you're trying to build your product, or build more traffic to your product, then marketing plays a place there. And that's true if you're Tesla, because Tesla does have a marketing spin, or Facebook, or any other cool startup that's like who say they don't spend on marketing. Like they probably spend on PR, they probably spend on money on marketing in many other different ways.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Johannes. Round of applause.
Thanks.
Wow, thanks for hanging in. We dropped like flies, didn't we? It's Friday afternoon. Really great to have you all here, to meet you. If I haven't had a chance to meet you and you want to say hi, please don't be shy. Everyone has had a shameless plug this week, and mine is that I just moved here and I don't have any friends. So come say hi. Again, thank you so much. And thanks especially to Urash and Mark. They've been like working behind the scenes. They're rock stars. So thanks, guys. All right, have a great weekend. See ya.